Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us on another episode of No More Kids in Scientology. In today's episode, you guys, we're going to be reacting to a specific show presented by Law and Crime. It's called Sidebar with Jesse Weber. And he's going into the 5 most shocking Jeffrey Epstein revelations that were unveiled in a massive document dump. So we really want to take this opportunity to react to certain things. So thank you much for joining us. And if you would hit the like and subscribe button on your way in, that would be much appreciated. Thank you.
And she told me basically that you struggle and you give him a massage for about an hour and obviously that sounds a little...
So right away, the first word that really jumps out of this horrific interview that this young girl is being questioned about has to do with massages. So why would massages be relevant in this conversation as it applies to kids inside the Scientology hotels? Glad that y'all asked. Glad that y'all asked that question, because massage tables is what you find inside the so-called auditing rooms that convert hotel rooms, where they place video cameras just like you're seeing right here in this Jeffrey Epstein criminal investigation, with the police conducting an interrogation. This is the literal Scientology setup, except that the child would have been expected to be holding these so-called electrodes on her hands so that the interrogator could be, really delving in. In Scientology, they don't want anything to be glib. They pride themselves with really wanting to excavate details. L. Ron Hubbard says it ad nauseum, that you have to clear every last shred of detail. Otherwise, the withhold, which is what this girl would be literally being told in Scientology that she has. Oh, you have a withhold because you've been giving massages. Well, Scientology puts underage kids in their hotels to give massages to adults. So-called assists, so-called nerve assists, so-called touch assist. Feel my finger. So Jeffrey Epstein and Scientology both very much into having underage teens getting video recorded inside hotel rooms or mansions. Literally, we're not even 14 seconds inside this disgusting interview.
Too good to be true.
Accused sexual predator Jeffrey Epstein has been dead for 5.
He's been dead for 5 years. Can you guys really understand that this man has been suddenly dead for 5 years, and Florida really protected him?
For 5 years, but we are still learning more information about his life and alleged crimes, including from newly released evidence this week out of Florida that really may send chills down your back. We've been digging through these materials and want to discuss more shocking new details. Well,
chills down your backs. Chills down your back is what you are left with when you really think of the unthinkable unfeathered access that was given to the Scientology executives when they took possession of underage kids, so-called executives that locked up children's passports en masse. It was a standard operating procedure to lock up the passport of all minors. So right away, all of that abuse should be sending shockwaves down people's spines, but apparently if you live in Florida, it doesn't send a shred of chill down anyone's spine in Florida that there's underage kids by the hundreds inside of these hotels with their parents bringing them there. So just make sure you keep track of that, because that's what's really going to start getting highlighted here as we delve more into this Epstein disgusting situation.
Financier. The Judge Luis Delgado, who released these materials, called Jeffrey Epstein, quote, the most infamous pedophile in American history.
Well, thank you, Mr. Judge Luis Delgado. Luis Delgado, you want to quote the most infamous pedophile in American history? I think is y'all in Florida who are going to be left with the reputation of hosting, you know, not only the most infamous pedophile in American history, as if it's with Jeffrey Epstein, Mr. Judge Luis Delgado, but you're going to have to add to your list L. Ron Hubbard and his executive proteges, L. Ron Hubbard and his Scientology parents, because those are more pedophiles in American history that need to be added to what in the hell is going on in your completely out of control, unhinged, lawless Florida, where apparently it's quite legal to bring children from other countries, underage kids from other countries, to be doing massages and to be doing all manner of disgusting things inside Florida hotels that, you know, Florida is so happy to give them tax write-offs, more incentives. Let's come up with more incentives, say the people in Florida. Let's come up with more incentives to bring more kids. Let's come up with more ideas on how to shield these people from, you know, doing the unthinkable in these hotels. Because yes, Judge Luis Delgado, the most infamous pedophile in American history, Jeffrey Epstein, L. Ron Hubbard, and all his copycats. So add the copycats to your little quote here. Just add it right there. It would be great for you to really start typing and adding to your quote.
And said that the evidence contained in the videos, audio recordings, and documents was sickening.
Where did he say they were included, you guys? The evidence included in the videos and the documents is sickening. Where else can we find videos? Bingo, in Scientology, you can find the videos that these people are recording with minors. In Scientology, you can find that. Where else can you find documents? They're documenting it. They're writing it down. They're putting down the evidence. They're telling on themselves. Every transaction, every massage, every time an adult and a child end up together, that gets written down inside of that hotel. So in what literal world can the Scientology parents say, none of us knew a shred of a thing because we couldn't be more clueless and we couldn't be more, you know, goo goo gaga for L. Ron Hubbard? Literally. Because, like I said, video recorded, written it down, document after document after document, after worksheet, after PC folder, after knowledge report, after KR, after everyone knows what in the hell's going on. And that is a big problem for these people. All knowing what each other is doing and thinking is smelling like a disgusting piece of literal trafficking of minors.
This, by the way, was pursuant to a bill signed by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis that authorized release of grand jury materials. And that's what this is. These are materials that center around when the Palm Beach Police Department had opened up an investigation into Jeffrey Epstein back in 2005. And what was...
Isn't that great, you guys? That the Palm Beach Police Department of Florida did take it upon themselves to open up a criminal investigation once they got wind that kids were being jeopardized. So what do you think the Clearwater Police Department did when they catch wind of kids getting abused, terrorized, tortured, child trafficked, essayed? Bingo, the police, Clearwater Police finds nothing at all. Their investigations couldn't be more pathetic. They couldn't be more abysmal. The Clearwater Police doesn't know how to pull a string. If a literal string was coming out of a rag doll, there's no investigations going on in the Clearwater Police. They couldn't be more willfully clueless, given the fact that they do have access to a lot of what goes on in the hotel, given the fact that they're besties with the security guards of these hotels, given the fact that every out 2D, remember, out 2D, I know it sounds real weird, you guys, but let's just remind everyone, what does this stand for? Out 2D. Every essay that takes place in that hotel gets reported to the security guards, the besties of the Clearwater Police Department. But I guess they're not that great of besties. I guess the bestie is only on the one-way flow because the Clearwater Police Department provides, what is it? Cover. Legitimacy to all of these hotels trafficking kids en masse. The Clearwater Police Department couldn't be more literally complicit into what is going on inside of that Florida Clearwater hotel for how many decades now? Count them. Start counting them and start adding the numbers, because the numbers are what tells the story here. Not the pathetic excuses, whitewash the Clearwater Police. Oh, we don't know anything. Everyone's having a religious experience inside of the hotel, being abused. How stupid can the Clearwater Police really be? And what a juxtaposition between the Palm Beach Police Department that did take it upon themselves to go in there and find out what in the hell was happening with these two disgusting perverts.
Was presented to a grand jury in 2006. Now, we recall that the parents of a 14-year-old girl came forward accusing the millionaire financier of paying her to give him a massage. That's how all...
Well, well, well. What else do we just find out right here? It was the parent of an underage girl who reported to the Palm Beach police. Imagine that. Jeffrey and Ghislane were so stupid not to involve the parents. Imagine that Debbie Cook was not that stupid. Imagine that Debbie Cook did involve the parents. Imagine that Debbie Cook was not going to end up with a single child inside of her hotel that she didn't know 1000% vetted that both the father and the mother were fully in on trafficking the child to her. So Jeffrey and Ghislane, yes, they did shit very willy-nilly. They just went on a free-for-all, not Debbie Cook. Debbie Cook was very careful. Debbie Cook did checklists, how to sign all the checklists for all the things that can maybe trigger a criminal investigation and, really shut down planetary clearing. Really stop the ability to clear a planet, because child trafficking clears a planet. How, Debbie Cook? By all means, tell us. Tell us now that we're adults. Tell us that we're not children. Because good luck explaining yourself today. You couldn't be more ridiculous, you could be more pathetic, and you couldn't be more of a Ghislane Maxwell on steroids. And now everyone can know who in the hell you are. You, the protector of all the trafficking that went on in that hotel. You, the one that sits there cashing checks on a monthly basis to shut the F up and to allow for more kids to be abused on a daily basis. Because you're nowhere to be found to, take a shred of accountability. Where are your conditions, Debbie Cook? Where's your liability? Where's your making up the damage for all the childhoods you stole? Where is that? Apparently, nowhere to be found.
All this started. The police, they found out that Epstein had allegedly set up a system to recruit girls to provide him massages and sometimes engage in sexual activity.
Oh, who else had a recruitment system, Debbie Cook? Who else had a literal recruitment system? Isn't that what you were calling it? Recruiters? Go recruit me some underage kids. Go get their passports. Go lock up their passports. Go train them to be auditors. Go train them to be supervisors. Go train them to be case supervisors. Go train them to be ethics officers. Children, underage children, Debbie literal Cook. A total crook of a woman that child trafficked kids ad nauseam inside of those hotels. But all the pathetic American media did was, give her a massage. Not great. Dan Harris just sat there with his little massage hands. So, Debbie Cook, tell me, so how did David Miscavige abuse you again? Oh my God, it must have been so bad for you, Debbie Cook. And how did it feel to have a personal masseuse, Debbie Cook? How did it feel? Because that would be great to start typing that part of the story. Pathetic reporter Dan Harris. That again, can't pull a shred of string, can't investigate worth nothing. You just sit there and you blab and you blab and you blab. There's no investigations being done because everything is just, glib AF. That's literally what it is.
These girls would not only be paid for services they provided, but they were also seemingly paid to bring more girls to Jeffrey.
Well. See, in our case, you guys, we were doing the massages inside of that hotel. 2 adults, including but limited to. In our case, we were invoicing people $500 an hour plus to get these massages. But don't think for a second that the children were getting paid. No. It was all going to Debbie Cook. All going to Debbie Cook's bank accounts. She managed. Don't forget that these adults thought that they owned that part. Debbie Cook thought she owned her little Florida role. That's why she was very pressed when she lost her little power position to be doing what in the hell she was doing inside of those hotels. And you can go back and you can listen to how proud she was of everything she did inside of those hotels and how much she believes that the legacy of convicted felon L. Ron Hubbard is something to be proud about. Imagine Debbie Cook in the year 2024 has, the same vertebrae as this disgusting other woman, Ghislane, where they were both trafficking kids in Florida right at the same time. Imagine that, you guys. I was being trafficked right here in the mid-90s. The same time that Jeffrey and Ghislane were doing it, Debbie Cook was doing it too. So we didn't get paid for the massages, but Debbie Cook did get paid for the massages. She demanded to get paid. She demanded to get the invoices. She demanded to go to the IRS and get the tax incentives going. Right or wrong, Debbie Cook?
Jeffrey Epstein. In fact, at one point, he allegedly told one victim, the younger, the better. So what happened? Well,
no, Debbie Cook didn't give an F about the younger. Because you know what? According to Debbie Cook and all the Scientology parents that she ensnared in her racketeering child trafficking conspiracy, didn't matter. You know, Debbie Cook thought 8-year-old, adult, 4-year-old, adult, 2-year-old, adult, 1-year-old, adult, 6 months old, adult. All kids are adults. So imagine the deprivation that Debbie Cook really was all about. The younger, the better. She didn't give an F about their age. She had them from literal cradle. Oh, they're here. They chose us. Their Satan came to the body and chose us. So just to understand how it's on steroids, what in the hell these people did in that hotel, unsupervised, enabled by the Clearwater Police Department, enabled by the Tampa Bay Times, who has sanitized their image for decades. Completely incapable of pulling a string, completely incapable of giving an F about the fact that there's industrial-sized kids coming from all over the world to Tampa, to be trafficked through the Tampa airport, where the FBI couldn't be more MIA, where there's no homeland security, where there's no checks and balances, where kids can just land in that airport and go straight get trafficked to a hotel. So there. That's what you have in Florida with Epstein and Debbie Cook.
Case was brought to the state attorney's office. A grand jury was impaneled where the juries heard all sorts of testimony from detectives and two of the alleged victims. And the grand jury ended up indicting Epstein in 2006 on felony solicitation of prostitution. That's it. And there have been a lot of...
That's it. That's the biggest slap in the face. In what world are kids guilty of the crime of prostitution? If kids cannot consent, in what world are they the ones that commit that crime? In what literal world can that go? In Florida. Florida law labels underage children prostitutes. Wow. Amazing laws that you have, Florida. No wonder trafficking can thrive in your lawless, disgusting state.
A lot of arguments about this, right? Why didn't prosecutors pursue more aggressive charges? Why was this the only one? And of course, we know how this went, right? The Palm Beach Police Department chief and lead detective, they were particularly troubled by this prosecution. So they refer the matter to the FBI. The FBI brings this to the assistant U.S. attorney. And in the end, in 2008, Jeffrey Epstein and prosecutors work out a deal where he pleads guilty to state charges of solicitation of prostitution and procurement of minors. And as a result, he's sentenced to just 18 months in prison, only serves 13, by the way. And he spends most of the time in a work release program where he can leave the jail to work at his office and then go back to jail at night. Yes, he has to also register as a sex offender, but the bottom line, he avoids federal charges. He avoids more.
Well, guess who's avoided all charges for trafficking 100x times more minors than Jeffrey and Ghislane? Bingo, Debbie Cook. And all of her child recruiters that she ran for decades. Guess who's getting the sweetheart deal of the millennia? As she collects checks, as she does nothing, as she's just on the sidelines pretending that she really wanted to save our world while she was abusing children on the daily. While she was watching unthinkable, disgusting videos of minors who she personally groomed with the rest of the other pathetic adult degenerate executives that were all coordinating, all putting kids to do this. All of them. So, yes, congratulations to you, Debbie Cook, because it must be great to be you, to be literally running around with a guilty conscience for having done what Jeffrey and Ghislane did on steroids. But you know what? You go and collect your little checks put them in your little Texas bank.
Serious state charges. This is the whole sweetheart deal that you've heard about a lot here on Sidebar and in the media.
Sweetheart deal is what Scientology's been getting by the IRS. Sweetheart deal is what the Scientology parents get for trafficking their kids. Sweetheart deal is what Florida does to host these hotels and to pretend that, hey, it's a religious day. Who of these adults wants to buy, 12 and a half hours with Natalie Galbiati? Who? Who wants to go get audited by a 15-year-old? Who wants that? Who wants to get, hooked up by the IRS to, write off your entire interrogation, which could include massages, because all one adult had to do would be like, oh, you know what? I have back problems. Oh, let's make sure you take care of those back problems. This make you a nervicist, and this 14-year-old's going to give you nervicist for hours and hours and hours, stuck giving massages to these disgusting adults who thought, oh, it's a great idea for me to lock myself up inside of a hotel with an underage child that's not my own, since we all just share them here collectively. Remember, all Scientology parents were in the know. As much as they play dumb, pretend they were not in the know, that they have no literal clue, all they have is that's all they have.
The media. And the argument is, if he were hit with more severe charges back in the day, he could have been stopped. He could have been stopped, as the allegations have explained.
He could have been stopped. Well, guess who else has not been stopped whatsoever? Guess who continues to have unfeathered access to minors at an industrial size scale? Yeah. All the people that are in the hotels as we speak, because the culture hasn't changed, because Scientology parents are still providing their kids, putting them in harm's way, sending them to get abused while they know they're going to get abused, while they know they're going to be audited, while they know they're going to be ethics handled, while they know they're going to be doing grooming, disgusting courses to, really teach the child that is their idea to be doing the bidding of a disgusting woman like that book, who just loved putting as many children as she could on the front lines of her disgusting racket that she was running, helping herself to minors' passports, helping to sell herself to all of their formative years, as she sabotaged their education, as she sabotaged their mental health, implanting them with BS rhetoric of a convicted felon that Debbie Cook was all about endorsing, all about promoting, all about selling. Right, Debbie Cook? Weren't you selling L. Ron Hubbard on a weekly basis? How much money were you making on a weekly basis, Debbie Cook, as you were selling L. Ron Hubbard? Because what numbers talk. And since you were literally commanding an entire hotel to make upwards of $2 million a week, that was a quota, that we would get in trouble if we were not making that type of GI, remember? So millions of dollars of complicity is what you are in, Debbie Cook. As much as you pretend that you have no complicity, as much as you pretend that you can just get paid and paid and paid and that checks are just going to keep coming and you are just going to go and live in your little Texas fake life that you're running for yourself now, God knows doing what? Because you were the captain of the flag service organization, weren't you, Debbie Cook? And therefore you knew a lot, didn't you, Debbie Cook? Didn't you know a lot? Didn't you have a lot of access to a lot of information, Debbie Cook, including but not limited to Lisa McPherson, including but not limited to that? You knew so much. Everything was shared with you. Every time a child was out to deed in the hotel, Debbie Cook, you were told and you were proud to know. You were proud to see the video. You were proud to watch disgusting interrogations done on underage kids where the child is being blamed for having gotten involved in that out to deed, right, Debbie Cook? That was your idea of ethics, wasn't it? You and your little daddy figure, L. Ron Hubbard. Oh, yeah, L. Ron Hubbard really teach me ethics. Well, go double check what in the hell type of ethics you really were practicing. Go really actually look in the mirror. Don't be delusional. Stop being teety-weety, because that's all you've been, Debbie Cook. Oh, yeah, I really wanted to save a world. You are a complete teety-weety woman. A Ghislane Maxwell on steroids.
From continuing to hurt girls. And then we know in 2019, he's arrested on New York federal sex trafficking charges, and he winds up dead in his jail cell before going to trial. Authorities concluding that he took his own life. And as for his accomplice, girlfriend, madam, whatever you want to call her, Ghislane Maxwell, she helped Epstein procure young girls to assault, and she was found guilty.
See, and you, Debbie Cook, were helping David Miscavige. So just before you really want to go, oh my God, I was really wanting to save a world, but David Miscavige, shut the F up. You were helping David Miscavige. Angie Trent was helping David Miscavige. Angie Blankenship was helping David Miscavige. Jana Fair was helping David Miscavige. All of y'all, grown adults that you were doing the bidding of convicted felon L. Ron Hubbard and his protege, David Miscavige. And you were proud to be doing that bidding. You were proud to be on those posts. You were proud to be putting that on your little weekly statistic. Oh my God, you guys, we're celebrating this week because guess what? We have a highest ever here. Oh my God, you guys, we just recruited 25 kids this week. And they're all going to be put on a post and they're all going to really save a world. So you, Debbie Cook, can really start figuring out how to make sense of your disgusting life, how to get a hold of the FBI ASAP so you can start figuring out how in the hell you're going to start defending what in the hell you did. Because you know what? It's not going to go away. It's not going away anytime soon.
Previous sidebar, we got into some of these materials that were released this past week, and we had an in-depth conversation about this with the current Palm Beach County State Attorney, Dave Arenberg. But now we're going to cover 5 horrific details from this release. And remember, the release of these documents happened after years of litigation from the Palm Beach Post and other media outlets who wanted to know what happened. They wanted to know what happened regarding these grand jury proceedings, as well as the investigation leading up to it. Now, one of the biggest parts of the evidence release has been videos. And there's footage of Palm Beach law enforcement serving a search warrant at Epstein's home while Epstein was away. The videographer walks through the house, giving us a sense of the layout, as well as
videos. Again, let's not forget that Scientology is obsessed with video recording everything going on in their hotel. Every hallway has cameras. Every video room where people are getting audited has cameras. Everything's video recorded 24/7, 365. So right there, the evidence. Everybody goes, oh, it's going to be really hard to figure out anything because, you know, child trafficking is such a crazy, complex thing to figure it out. Well, stop being so stupid. There's plenty of video recordings to back up everything we say happens in those disgusting auditings. So before you idiots continue to go, oh, it's going to be really hard, stop making it hard and start getting a hold of the evidence already and stop being pathetic and not helping a shred of child, because that's all we've ever gotten. Literally no help, literally just, oh, let's just really pretend that everything's so complicated.
Well, some of the more disturbing decorating choices, that's one way of putting it, like artwork and photos of young nude girls. Now, I will tell you, unfortunately, some of the
I mean, this guy really wants to go at the art word as if really that is what you really should be pressed about in terms of what these girls that are being called prostitutes by Florida, underage girls being called prostitutes. I mean, we were also just, you know, child slaves, but we were being called religious volunteers. So Florida has a literal track record of falsely calling the criminal activity that they're putting the kids to do so that they can blame the kids. Oh, they're just prostitutes. Oh, no, those are not child slaves. They're religious volunteers. Right, Florida? Children can be prostitutes and children can be slaves. That's what Florida says. Children can consent to be prostituted and children can consent to be signing up to be slaves. Imagine that. Imagine that type of disgusting, lawless state where the criminal activity of child trafficking and abusing minors is literally, you know, proliferating at unprecedented numbers.
audio clips that were part of this release, they're just unusable. You essentially can't understand anything that's being made out. So we won't play those for you. But what we will start talking about are redacted interviews with victims who came down to the police department to speak with detectives.
First of all, again, I appreciate you coming down to talk to me. You're not in any trouble whatsoever.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to put that out there right now.
Okay.
Well, I just want to put it out there right now that that is not how any child in Scientology that has been essayed is ever spoken to when they get pulled into the room. How about is the complete and utter opposite? Come here. You're in a lot of ethics trouble because we just found out that you went out to D. So you're in so much trouble. It's your fault. You pulled it in. You tutti flowed. You made it happen. You made an adult take advantage of you sexually, and that is your fault as a child. So right there, very important to, you know, create some context and literally create some contrast between what the Palm Beach police is doing when they're interrogating the children who didn't consent to be prostituted by Epstein. Never consented to that, despite Florida literally putting it all over their documents that that's the crime this disgusting, grotesque man was charged with.
You're not in any trouble whatsoever. The reason why I wanted to talk to you is I am conducting an ongoing investigation for quite some time now on a subject by the name of Jeffrey Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And through my investigation, I do know that you have some knowledge and you've been at the house. And that's what I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
And again, I'm saying you're not in any trouble. Okay? You're not a suspect. You're a witness, possibly a victim. But I do want to talk to you. Okay? All right. Before we start, can you raise your right hand for me?
Yeah.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay. How did you meet Mr. Epstein?
They're a friend.
Through a friend.
Mm-hmm.
What school were you going to when you?
I wasn't in school when I met him. I had already graduated.
You already graduated?
Yeah.
Okay. How old are you now?
19.
19. How long ago did you meet him?
About a year, let's say, maybe a little over a year. Right around a year.
Okay. Again, I've talked to a lot of girls, 30, almost 40 girls so far. And
imagine, guys, 30 to 40 girls were actually being taken seriously because the Palm Beach Police Department was taken serious. What they were finding, were pulling the string, were asking questions, were demanding answers that made a shred of sense. In what world is the Clearwater Police the diametrically opposite than this investigation? In what world does the Clearwater Police Department have zero files, zero investigations? And, you know, those of us who have gone and spoken to them, they couldn't have been more glib. They couldn't have been more unprofessional. They couldn't have been more pathetic. And they couldn't have been more, you know, wanting to find nothing, wanting to ask nothing and just kowtow to Sarah Heller and her minions.
so I know pretty much when he takes you to the house what transpires, okay? I know it might be a little embarrassing or whatever, but don't be. Like I said, I've talked to many people already and are pretty much familiar as to what happened in the house, okay?
To really tell me what happened. Really tell me, how did you do the massage? And where did you touch him? And how did you grab them? And how long did you grab them for? And did you use any type of lotion? And how many strokes did you give him? Those were the auditing questions required of children to be asking adults. Otherwise, you missed the withhold. Otherwise, you didn't clean it. Otherwise, you didn't confront it. So once again, the juxtaposition couldn't be more dire.
Walk me through this when you went to his house for the first time.
Okay. She took me over to the house. She waited downstairs. I just went up, gave him a massage, and that was it. I mean.
Okay. She approached you to
yeah,
work?
She's like, oh, you know, do you need to make any extra money? I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, I can give you, you know, like $200. It's this older guy in Palm Beach. He gets a lot of massages from girls. You know, that was really, that's all she told me. That's what I mean.
Okay. Are you a licensed therapist or masseuse therapist?
No, I'm not licensed, no.
No, but you know how to give massages? Yeah. Okay. Is this something that you did on the side, or is this?
Only, I mean, no, just like for him. That was really it.
All right.
You know what else is very disturbing from these interviews, aside from the fact that you hear how young they are, even when they're speaking, was how their stories were all consistent, how their stories seemed to match up. Here's part of an interview with another victim.
She told me about this guy I was short on rent 1 month, and she told me that all I had to do was give him a massage and he would give me $200. And that's pretty much it. And I thought about it. I was like, I really need the money. I've asked my parents. They can't give me the money. I asked everyone I knew. And I went there with her. I gave him a massage, and it was a weird situation.
And the audio here isn't as clear, but listen to what another victim told detectives.
A friend of mine told me about Jeffrey. She said she was helping him find girls.
And who was this friend?
We're not friends anymore, though, so you can't mention my name to her. And she told me basically that you would go and you would give him a massage for about an hour and for $200. And obviously that sounds a little too good to be true. And as I found out, it wasn't quite what she said. He has the girls take off their clothes and give him a massage. And
where else were adults and children being asked to take off their clothes? Glad y'all asked, because that was happening in the audits. Do you have any tight clothes or shoes on? Oh, do you want to take off your bra? Oh, do you want to take off your pants? Oh, do you want to undo your pants right here in front of me? Why were adults undoing their pants in front of us as children, Debbie Cook? That would be great for you to get on the record and really set it straight. Why was that happening in every single one of those sessions? Why was that being done? Why was that being watched by you? Why was that being watched by Richard Reese? Why was that being watched by Sue Gentry? Why was that being watched by Angie Trent? Why were y'all watching kids undress inside of hotel rooms and y'all we thought we're going to save our world that way? Pathetic. All of you can be more pathetic, couldn't be more disgusted. You couldn't be more degenerates. That's what in the hell it's called. Degenerates is what you all are. Scientology parents and Scientology executives. Bunch of degenerate, disgusting pigs.
Likes watching.
Investigators discovered that Jeffrey Epstein and his assistants and Ghislane Maxwell, they would coordinate massage times with these girls, often multiple massages a day. And then
who else did you have coordinating all of these massages? Debbie Cook, Lena Selva, Mary Vogading. You know, Debbie Cook had not just one, not just two, not just three, not just four. She had hundreds of juniors coordinating for these massages to be taking place, for these interrogations to be taking place inside of the hotel. So imagine that once again, Ghislane and Jeffrey's operation is minuscule. Debbie Cook's operation in Clearwater, Florida was gigantic. Gigantic. Industrial size scale. Thousands and thousands and thousands of kids ensnared and implicated, brought from all over the world. They weren't just out of one high school. Oh no, Debbie Cook had her eyes and ears in high schools all across the planet. Let's really recruit these people. It's really going to save our world. Right, Debbie Cook? Children are going to help you save a world while you were pimping them out to your disgusting patrons inside of the Scientology hotels.
those girls would be asked to recruit friends, especially if they attended local high schools. Think about that for a second. You know, one victim told police that she always gave other girls a heads up about what would be happening inside the mansion because she says the acquaintance who brought her for the first time wasn't completely truthful about Epstein's alleged expectations.
And like I would always tell them, you know, what the situation was, because like I wasn't told the whole. At first, I was not told the whole situation.
What did he tell you would have to do?
He told me I would just take my shirt off and give him a massage, and that would be it.
Topless
So,
or
yeah,
with the bra?
topless.
Okay.
So that was it.
Okay.
How many minors went out to the inside of the Fort Harrison Hotel, Debbie Cook? How many minors ended up topless? How many? Because right about now, you should start counting that. Right about now, you should start really writing on a W write-up full of time performing event of every minor that you know was essayed on the 3rd floor of the Fort Harrison Hotel that you ran for decades, Debbie Cook, that you had full video recordings of everything said inside those sessions. And you were very, very proud of it. So by all means, start, you know, making memory of those exact facts that are completely missing. Nowhere to be found on the public record, nowhere to be found on the court record, nowhere to be found you making a case for being sorry about disgusting things you apparently are very, very happy to have gotten away with. You must be really going like, oh, it sucks you to be you, Ghislane. Sucks to be you. I'm getting paid. I'm Debbie Cook. I did hundreds more time I did, but you know what? I'm having a great time. God bless America.
Was there ever a time that you ever told him, hey, I'm not comfortable with that?
The first time he asked me if I would take the jeans off, and I told him I wasn't comfortable with that.
Now let's talk about the grand jury proceedings.
Guess what would happen inside of the Scientology hotels? If a child's not comfortable with something, they double down. Oh, I'm not comfortable going in session with that person. Oh, you're not comfortable? Has he missed a withhold on you? They triple down. Children's comfort levels are not anyone's concern inside of the hotels. The parents don't give an F. The Scientology executives don't give a shred of a literal F. So it is a free-for-all. It is a, oh yeah, take that one in session. Oh yeah, assign him a condition of treason to that 14-year-old. They're really going to learn a lot. We're really giving him a favor by forcing him to go get a sec check for 50 hours about masturbation with that other person that just completed a course inside of a hotel. Because that makes a lot of sense, right, Debbie Cook? What you ran was making no shred of sense. And right about now is when you should be coming to your senses.
Meetings back in 2006. This again was to decide whether to indict Jeffrey Epstein for sex crimes. And the prosecutor had questioned these victims on the stand, wanting details about what the girls were wearing when they went to the home. So this is part of the transcript, and it reads, quote, question, how were you met when you first went to dressed when you first went to his house? Answer, I was wearing a regular t-shirt, my Hollister shirt.
Imagine that this is the type of evidence that Debbie Cook, not a prosecutor in Florida, Debbie Cook's data miners, Debbie Cook's so-called auditors, this is exactly what they were being asked. What were you wearing? A thong? And the bra? What type of bra? Oh, it was a bra. Okay, nothing special. Uh-huh. All of these are recorded in real time. All of these interviews that are not being conducted by prosecutors, that are not being conducted with anyone in the room other than a case supervisor watching through a video recording of an ivory tower, so-called ivory tower, is what they call it in Scientology, where the video person is watching what in the hell's being interrogated. And this is the level of detail that we're discussing is being asked of children as we speak right now. So if anybody sees why I'm a little pressed, well, ask yourself, why in the hell are the Scientology parents not pressed? Why are they so comfortable with this happening 24/7 still, even after they left? Because I would love to see some evidence that any of them have repudiated a shred of what in the hell they did inside of those hotels. Would be really great to see that evidence right about now.
Shirt and just some jeans. Okay, what kind of underwear did you have on? A thong. And the bra? What type of bra? It was a bra. Okay, nothing special? Uh-huh. Were you comfortable getting down to your bra and underwear?
I mean, this is so disgusting. But again, you guys, these are the questions that no prosecutor was asking kids. These are the questions that Debbie Cook was getting answered. This is the type of investigation she was calling on kids that were out to eat inside of her hotel. Right or wrong, Debbie Cook, doesn't this remind you of audits? Doesn't it remind you of a sec check? Doesn't it remind you of an ethics handling that Brink Canetta, that underage kid that you had there handling the ethics of adults, would have been asking? Don't you find that disturbing today in this year 2024, Debbie Cook? Or do you still find it a reason to save a world, asking a child these questions, having a child be put in that position? Because that's what in the hell this is giving. As of the year 2024, you have made -0 ethics change, Debbie Cook. You're still out there cashing your pathetic checks.
Like I was kind of hesitant. I was like sitting in the room until Jeffrey came in, like thinking like to myself, well, like what's going on? Like, I don't know. I was kind of hesitant, but then I just just didn't care because I wanted $200 because I wanted to spend it. So I just didn't care. Or how about this particularly creepy exchange with a witness who says she was 17 years old when she had this incident with Jeffrey Epstein? Quote, when you were massaging him, did he say anything to you or make any comments? The response was, polite conversation. Okay, what kind of things was he asking you? Just about school and what I was going to do when I got older. He knew you were in school? Yes. Not to mention the fact that she testified also that when she turned 18, she claims Epstein gave her bras and panties. She also testified how he had intercourse with her before she turned 18. So we're talking about an allegation of assault. Now, as we covered in the previous,
an allegation of, at best, statutory rape of a child, of a minor. So make sure that you really figure out what in the hell this is. It's not just an assault. Children that are having intercourse with adults when the minors are not just simply getting assaulted.
via sidebar, there were some very troubling questions that were posed by the prosecutor and even the jurors to these witnesses about the choices that they made and whether they committed a crime. Again, you can check out our previous sidebar to see all about that. But Jeffrey Epstein, going back to him, he has long been accused of using his appearance of wealth, like this huge fancy mansion, his connection to famous celebrities, photos of whom were sometimes displayed on the walls, and his seemingly never-ending supply of cash to get what he wanted. And detectives warned the alleged victims that Epstein's lawyer might end up contacting them as this criminal investigation moved forward.
Because he is aware of the investigation. I did a search warrant in the house.
Right.
Were you aware that he had cameras in the house?
Yes. I wasn't sure where. I knew he had some on the outside of the house. I wasn't sure where the other cameras were.
Okay.
So who else had cameras all over? Glad that y'all asked, because yes, once again, as we already said, Debbie Cook and all of her executives inside of those Scientology hotels, every inch was with a camera. Security watches that camera 24/7. There's somebody watching those cameras at all times. They're recording everything. So they have all the evidence. They have all the details. And they're just being enabled to do that.
But he is aware of the investigation. That's what I'm saying. Don't be surprised if someone from his, like a defense attorney or a private investigator tries to talk to you.
Okay.
Again, there's this theme of power, control, influence.
There's this theme of fair gaming going on. There's the theme of intimidation. There's the theme of, yes, our multi-million, billion-dollar abusers engage in a scheme of not only abusing us, but then using their power, wealth, and influence to fair game any of us that dare speak out against their disgusting, despicable activities. So we see this over and over and over and over, you guys. It's the same literal shit with a different air freshener. And Florida couldn't be more up to their neck and ears with being the poster child of this problem. The child trafficking of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislane that was allowed to, proliferate on steroids, just a little bit more north of Palm Beach. Just land yourself, go from Palm Beach to Clearwater, Florida, and find whatever Jeffrey and Ghislane were doing, find it on steroids and a half. Because unlike Palm Beach that had a police department pulling strings, Clearwater does not possess such police department. Clearwater couldn't be more clueless, couldn't be more, we think everything is very religious, what goes on in there, to all the children that we see are walking around inside of those Scientology hotels. It couldn't be more important and couldn't be more disgusting, nauseating, the systemic pattern of indifference of what is allowed and enabled and endorsed to happen inside of Florida. Do you have laws, Florida, to do with child trafficking? The answer is yes or no. Because if you're going to say that, yes, we do have those laws, well, I'm here to tell you, you haven't applied a shred of them. So they couldn't be more useless. They couldn't be more weak. They couldn't be more pathetic. So maybe go back and start checking what the law says. Maybe go back and start asking questions of your besties at the security guards of the Clearwater Hotel, Clearwater Police Department. Maybe the Tampa Bay Times wants to start figuring out what in the hell they've done, as they've laundered the image of all the Scientology executives that were Ghislane Maxwell's on steroids and have allowed them to sell all their cacamimi stories that they put out for themselves to purport that what goes on inside of those hotels where children cannot consent is a religious activity. That is what in the hell you call a false pitch. Imagine the idiots at the Tampa Bay Times that cannot figure it out. Imagine that no advocates exist for any of these kids. So I thank you guys all for watching, and I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.